All right, I have some 19 crimes here. Okay, so this is like actually delicious. It's been sitting in my cabinet for like a while because I wasn't honestly sure if it was going to be good or not. Oh my word, it's so good. Apparently it's aged in rum barrels. So good. Anyway, we're going to try to knock this video out as fast as we possibly can. I only have one battery right now. Also, please press that subscribe button right now. Today we are talking about how long you should wait for lines for specific rides at Cedar Point. Now, I have this divided up into a couple of different pieces. Obviously, not all days at Cedar Point are created equal. So, you have to have kind of some different designations. Obviously, if it's an incredibly busy day, I don't expect to have premium numbers, premium weights for different rides at Cedar Point. But if I'm at Cedar Point on a less busy day, I expect to have less time waiting in lines on those days. Obviously, I think that makes sense, right? So today we're going to be talking about wait times and quantifying them by steal. So if you see a steal, like, hop in that immediately. Do it. It's worthwhile most times. Or busy day, worthwhile on a busy day. But busy day is your highest amount you should ever have for one of these rides. We're talking about that. And then, of course, we have two different types of rides. One type of ride is your roller coaster rides. Those are going to have quantified amounts of time, like 10 minutes, 2 hours, 75 minutes, 80 minutes, you know, things like that. Or you can have the flat rides, and the flat rides I generally talk about in terms of rotations. You're waiting 0 rotations, 1 rotation, whatever it is for that ride. So I hope you guys are ready. I hope you're excited. I know that was a long introduction, and I hope that you are ready to go. So let's go. I also do have a few notes on every single ride that we're going to talk about, especially the best time of the day for you to hit that ride. So this hopefully will be your one-stop guide to which rides at the park you should ride throughout the day. And one quick tip, once the lines get up to kind of their normal amounts, I just start walking in circles around the park. While I'm walking around in circles, I am looking for what I perceive to be a reasonable wait time for me to ride the other rides. If I don't see one in like 3 rides, then I will just ride the third one because eventually it's not worthwhile if you're not riding something. So you just have to step in line for something. This is what I'm generally looking for. I'm looking for a wait time. Like if it's a really busy day, I'm looking for a do-it wait time because I don't want to wait in a busy day wait time. I want to wait for a do-it wait time if it's at all possible. And then as I continue around the park, I ride every one of them if I see that they've gone down, or if one isn't down, isn't a little bit lower, then I'll just do a busy day wait time and try for that instead. Our very first one is kids rides. Now, for the kids rides, I would say that a steal is 0 rotations because kids, there's so many different kids rides. Also, do it is 1 rotation and busy day is 2 rotations. So at the very most, wait 2 rotations for a kid's ride. If you're having to wait more than that, and as you hop in line, you get the idea that it's going to take longer than you think it's going to, just hop out of it and move on to the next ride. That ride line should get lower after you've ridden maybe 2 or 3 other kiddie rides. Come back again and see if it's a little bit lower then. The next ride is Blue Streak. Now, for a busy day, at the very most, ride Blue Streak at 30 minutes. 25 to 30 minutes is a high amount. If you're getting a 40-minute line, get rid of that crap. You don't want to wait for that line. It's not worthwhile. But then Blue Streak for a do-it would be 15 to 20 minutes. I think definitely reasonable for you to do most days, 15 to 20 minutes at that ride. And then steal would be 0 minutes to 10 minutes. If you can get under 10 minutes, you're golden for Blue Streak. For the railroad, never wait more than one rotation, especially now. But if you are trying to ride as many rides as you possibly can, try to time the railroad so that as you hear the rail cars coming, when you hear that horn, you just go hop in line at that point. Or if you see it parked at the station but people haven't been let in yet, then go hop in line real fast. If you can time it like that, then that's awesome. So that may be worthwhile, you know, to ride Iron Dragon one time while you wait for the train to come in and then go hop on the train to take it to the back of the park. Just little strategies like that may help. But in my estimation, never ride the railroad unless you are able to time it in one rotation where you don't have to wait for it. If you have to wait more than one rotation at the railway, just walk. Cadillac Cars, 20 to 25 minutes on a really busy day, okay, fine, is worthwhile if you really care about it. 10 minutes to 15 minutes would be decent for a do-it. It's a decent time. Or for the steel, 0 to 5 minutes. If you can find 0 to 5 minutes, if there's a walk-on for Cadillac Cars, go hit it. It'll be really fast and you're done with it for the day. Once again, though, Cadillac Cars, it's one that appeals more highly to families. Hit it around lunchtime. You'll usually have lower weights around that time. Cedar Creek Mine Ride, I do have marked down for 30 to 35 minutes on a busy day. I have seen it much higher than that. Don't ride it if it's higher than that. It's not worth it. If you circle back and you come back later on that day, it'll probably be much, much lower. It's not worth waiting for a massive amount of a wait for that ride. Do it would be 15 to 25 minutes. I think about a 20-minute wait is almost always reasonable for that ride. It does load fairly slowly, so that's something to realize about it. You don't want to expect that you're going to have really good wait times for it all the time because it is a slow wait. Another thing to look for is, are they running 3, 2, or 1 train? That'll tell you a little bit more about it also. And a good time to hit that ride is really most times. Like, let's say it is a really busy day even, and it's a 35-minute wait, just hop in it. It's better to wait for something that's a long wait, but later on in the day, than to have to wait for the 2-hour waits for the big rides at the peak of the day when everybody is there. It just uses your time more wisely, and you don't feel as bored in the lines for all day. The next ride is Cedar Downs. Never wait for anything other than a walk-on on this ride, unless it's a really busy day. If you have 1 rotation, that might be worthwhile, but I have never seen it completely fill up. If you hop in the line, even as it just opens up for everybody to get on, you will almost always see that you can get on too. Cedar Downs does have so many people that it can pack onto it that you usually do not have to wait. So almost all throughout the day, just go to Cedar Downs. You should be able to ride it within 1 load time. I'm telling you, this is so good. Why do I like this so much? Oh my word, it's so good. It even smells good. Like this is, it's a cheap wine. Apparently I have cheap, crappy taste, and I'm very okay with that. I'm afraid this is gonna be a real long video, guys. The next ride is Corkscrew. 30 to 40 minutes for Corkscrew is reasonable on a busy day. And unfortunately, that's because it really does get some long lines. Like, I've seen 75-minute waits for Corkscrew, which to me is unfathomable. I have no idea why you would wait for that. Truth be told, I don't want to wait more than 5 minutes for this ride ever because I don't like it. It's not a great ride. But it is kind of iconic in that it was such like a record breaker at the time. So it's definitely an iconic thing, even though maybe not as iconic as some of the other rides at Cedar Point. Definitely a do-it for it would be 15 to 25 minutes. I think that's okay. I would always try to aim for a steal of about 10 minutes or less. I do expect to have quite a few rotations before I get into Dodgem. Having one rotation, I think, is even a steal. 2 to 3 rotations is decent, and 4 rotations is still okay on a really busy day. So worthwhile to go check those out. I would say the best time to hit that ride is evenings or in the mornings. But the problem is, only hit it in the mornings if you're going with your family and they just really want to ride that, but they don't want to ride other coasters. Maybe if you have older people in your group or people who don't like coasters or kids. But it's not worthwhile to waste your time doing that if you have coaster lovers in your group who want to ride coasters instead of the flat rides in the park. For Gatekeeper, hit that one really throughout the day, because the fun thing about Gatekeeper is it does really weird things with its numbers. I don't know if it's its location, if people just don't really know where the entrance is, or what it is about Gatekeeper. But for some reason, people seem to not congregate at Gatekeeper as much. So it gets shorter lines more frequently throughout the day, and very randomly. Like, it'll go from a 90-minute wait down to a 30-minute wait, and you have no idea why or what caused it to happen, but all of a sudden it's a short wait, and then you can hop on that short wait. So 50 to 80 minutes on a busy day, I think, is worthwhile. Don't wait in a 90-minute wait for it. It's not worth it. And then a much better wait time for you to always be looking for would be 15 to 45 minutes. A steal for it would be 0 to 15 minutes. If you see that the sheltered portion of the queue is pretty much the only place where there are people, then that's always worthwhile. Gemini, I would say, should be under 30 minutes almost always. I do have for busy day 30 to 40 minutes. That would really push me. I would rather not wait even close to that amount of time. 15 to 30 minutes, I think, is much more reasonable, and 0 to 10 minutes is always good. If you can find that quick, just straight walk on up. Now, one note to have is, how many cars does it have running? Does it have 4 cars running, or does it have just a set of 2, or only one side running at a time? That's definitely going to make a massive difference to how long that line takes. If you have 4 cars going, usually you don't really have to wait much at all. Even if the queue is going in lots of back and forths, you're still usually pretty good. Never ride the giant wheel. And that's not because I don't like it. Just if you're trying to find your best bet for the day to give you the most time, the giant wheel is a time sucker. The line takes forever. The loading time takes forever. And then while you're actually on the ride and going, that takes forever too. Every time I've ridden a giant wheel, it feels like it takes up the better portion of at least an hour for me of the day. And that's an hour when I could have probably hit maybe 3 coasters during that time. So I do not like to ride the giant wheel unless I am doing some sort of an experiment where I'm trying to ride as many rides as I possibly can. It's just not worthwhile. But 0 rotations would be worth it, maybe. You're still gonna wait a long time. 1 rotation for like a do-it is okay if you really must ride it. 2 rotations at the very most would be reasonable. But again, even 2 rotations of fully loading that wheel is gonna end up taking like 40 minutes for you to get on it. Like, that is a long wait, and I just don't know that I think it's worthwhile. The next ride would be Iron Dragon. Iron Dragon, again, under 40 minutes at max is okay, but I would definitely recommend always sticking to that 15 to maybe like even 25-minute wait. 30 minutes would be reasonable, but the steal for it is 0 minutes to 10 minutes. I've had a lot of times when I've been able to pretty much walk on. If they have full amounts of trains, you should be able to get on in about 10 minutes, even if it's full. I've had a lot of times when I thought, man, this is a long line, and it's not been nearly as long as I thought it was going to be, because they are pretty efficient at loading, and all day you usually can get pretty decent amounts of time for that ride. So just hop in the line. If you see the line is trailing too far out into the walkway, into the main pathway, then just skip it for a time and come back the next time. The next ride is Lake Erie Eagles, one of my favorite rides ever. 0 rotations. This ride doesn't load very many people on it, so 0 rotations is definitely steal. 1 rotation is okay, and 2 rotations is definitely that busy day thing. You're probably gonna end up with 2 rotations if it's a busy day. My thing would just be, don't really do it. But if it's one that you really love, best time to hit it would be in the afternoon. The next ride would be Magnum XL. You can find a lot of times throughout the day when you can get decent times for Magnum, especially during the morning, long after some of the other rides have really filled up. Even after Millennium Force has really filled up and is now at like an hour-long queue, Magnum still continues to be really low. It's one of the last ones for people to really be like, yeah, I'm gonna go get in line for that now. It's just not high on people's priority lists. So if you're able to hit it, at 11 o'clock or anytime before lunchtime, you're gonna be golden with that ride. So hit it a little bit early, not too early though, and you'll be able to, maybe ride 2 rides beforehand and then ride Magnum, and that gives you quite a few good iconic coasters to hit during the day, and you'll avoid that 45-minute line. Otherwise, a do it for Magnum is 20 to 30 minutes. I think 20 minutes is definitely worthwhile, and a steal is 0 to 15 minutes, which is most of the time. Like if the line is not going down the back and forths, down on the paved portion of the line area, you should not have any problem with getting a 15-minute line. Like that's pretty standard at this point for Magnum, unless you wait until like 2 o'clock, and then it's definitely more of like a 40-minute or a 30-minute wait for that ride, which I think is kind of wasting your time at the parks, because there's so many other times when you can get it shorter. Also, wait until the end of the day. If you've missed Magnum and you've hit other things throughout the day that were better waits, then definitely at the end of the day come back to Magnum, and you can hit an iconic ride while it's maybe even dark, which is definitely a fun ride, especially with the beach right next to you. Maverick is our first really big one. 95 minutes is worthwhile. It's okay. It's awful. I don't recommend it if you can avoid it. But on a busy day, it's maybe worthwhile. And I have many times hit like an hour-and-a-half wait for Maverick. However, the do it would be 45 minutes to 75 minutes, and I would definitely recommend that above. If you can hit that like hour mark for Maverick during your days at Cedar Point, I think that's definitely more worthwhile. And if you can hit 0 to 40 minutes like in the mornings, that ride fills up so fast. So even if you show up at Maverick in the mornings and you're one of the first people to get there, there's still a good chance you're going to end up waiting 30 to 40 minutes for that ride, which again, not a bad wait time for Maverick. I wouldn't suggest it for almost any other rides, but for Maverick, it's okay. Max Air, don't ride Max Air ever. Max Air is one of those terrible rides that I just absolutely, utterly detest. But if you must, and I do believe it's opening up again this next year, at least that is the rumor. As a matter of fact, I think that may not even be a rumor anymore. I think that has been confirmed. Wait 0 to 1 rotations for a steal. It does get fairly long lines. And this next year, I'm anticipating it will have much longer lines. because it wasn't open at all last year. I will not be one of them in the lines, so count your blessings that I am one less body that you will have to contend with. But the do-it amount would be 2 rotations, and the busy day would be 3 rotations. If you're having to hit more than that, come back at another time. To be entirely fair, though, I never rode this last year, so I don't entirely know what the rotation amounts are. I haven't seen it. I'm not entirely sure what it's going to be. I haven't experimented with it. I will experiment with it this next year, even though I won't ride it. So I will be in the line at some point. Not frequently, but at some point, just to see how long the line actually takes and whether the posted weights are actually accurate for it or not. So that also means I'm not entirely sure what time of day is best to hit that ride. Maybe worthwhile to check it out at some point. But I'm not entirely sure. Now, before I continue with this video, I just want to say, please hit that subscribe button down below, and please tell me down below also what you think of some of these different rides. Do you think I'm wildly off on what's acceptable for wait times? Are there rides that you would wait longer for? Things like that. Let me know what you think down below. I'd love to hear from you guys what your opinions on the park are. Also, your opinions are very illuminating and helpful to the rest of our audience here too. Every time that you comment, it just gives them a wider variety of understanding of the park, and it's definitely helpful. Also, every time that you comment or you press a like button, you help more people to see these videos and to get more tips and tricks on Cedar Point, and I really appreciate that. So please do that down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. The next ride is Midway Carousel. The Midway Carousel, I would say you should always be able to try to get on within 1 rotation. On a busy day, or even for a do-it, 1 rotation is reasonable. If you need to wait for a full rotation and then you get on, never wait for more than that, not even on a really busy day. I've never seen the carousel just packed with people. And once again, you have a very high capacity ride in the Midway Carousel. So I think it's worthwhile and very reasonable to not have to wait for that ride, at least not more than 1 rotation. Millennium Force is another one of my big 4. You're gonna end up waiting frequently a long time for this ride. 65 minutes I think is your cutoff. If you're seeing it higher than that, maybe 70 minutes, don't hop in it. Because I think you have so many other times when you can hit this. This is a good ride to hit during the mornings or in the evenings. Now, if you know me, this ride is the ride that I prefer to go to first in the mornings, especially when I don't have like early entry, when I'm coming in at a normal time. Riding Millennium Force is my go-to because it is one that will get higher wait times later. Also, evenings, it gets lower wait times frequently. Now, we're not talking really low. We're not talking 15 minutes, but we are talking like 30-ish minutes for Millennium Force in the evenings. Worthwhile. That's definitely worthwhile. So a do-it would be 30 to 45 minutes if you can find it, and a steal would be 0 to 25 minutes. I find that steal is what I get, even if I come in a little bit late to the park. If I'm still there within the first hour, usually I'm hitting a 0 to 25 minute wait for Millennium Force, and that is always a good thing in my book. Okay, so the problem with Monster is that it takes forever to load. It's a fun ride. My daughter loves it, but it's definitely a time sucker once again. Doing the evenings while everyone's riding the other big rides at the end of the day is worthwhile. But if you're only there for 1 day, you're not going to want to hit it. And I would just say, yeah, just stick with that impulse. Don't ride this ride if you've only got 1 day. I don't think most of the flat rides are worthwhile if you only have 1 day. If you're coming back frequently throughout the year, then definitely hit them. Or if you have kids who, once again, either are too small or don't want to ride roller coasters, then that's also worthwhile for you. 0 rotations is usually my thing. 0 rotations for do it also. and 1 rotation for a busy day is worthwhile. Otherwise, you're going to end up waiting a long time for that ride because it actually takes longer for you to load Monster than for you to ride Monster. So that's kind of the problem for me, is that it's just not, it's a lot of waiting for very little reward. Ocean Motion. Ocean Motion, I would wait 1 rotation for a steal. 0 rotations would be better, of course. I would definitely do it on a 2 rotations, or for a busy day, 3 rotations. Once again, there's a lot of people, short loading times, and I would definitely avoid the mornings for Ocean Motion. For Pipe Scream, I would not ever wait more than 45 minutes, but the problem is that Pipe Scream takes a very long time to load. You do get a good ride out of it though, like the ride is not just really short and not worthwhile, so it's definitely worth the wait, but because the ride time takes such a long time, the load time takes forever, and then you're waiting for a very long time. Busy days should be avoided, but you'll find that this ride gets a long line very, very quickly. I don't think it's worth anything more than 45 minutes at the very top, and that's on the busiest days. 20 to 30 minutes is definitely much more worthwhile, and 0 to 15 minutes is even better. Actually, this last year, Power Tower never really had long waits, and part of that I think is attributed to it having 4 different towers that it runs simultaneously. Now each of those towers, there are 2 towers of each that are different. 2 of them shoots you straight up, and 2 of them takes you to the top and then shoots you straight down. Now after this horrible accident that's happened in Orlando, I imagine it's actually going to be a little bit less busy, but my information is a little bit limited to the 2021 season at this point. So based on what I saw from last season, 40 to 60 minutes on a busy day is worthwhile. I mean, it's only on a busy day though. I never saw it at higher than 15 to 35 minutes. Also, I didn't go to it very frequently because you have 4 different lines. So if you really think about it, between 2 different lines that are open, that's like a combined 70 minutes for that. So it is a fairly high capacity ride. Oh, I forgot my hat today. Oops. Trademark gone. Here, let's put it on. There we go. Is that better? Does that make you all feel better? I had a hat within reach and I just never put it on. Raptor is definitely a ride that you want to hit at the end of the day. It does get some massive lines throughout the days, especially at the beginning of the day in particular. The beginning of the day for Raptor, once again, I think I've said it a million times, but people walk into Cedar Point and they look up and they go, oh, look at that green thing. I want to ride the green thing. So that they go straight to Raptor. And also, it doesn't help that Raptor's entrance is right on the Midway. So you're seeing it the minute that you walk in. So don't ride Raptor. Instead, avoid it for the beginning of the day and then come back around sunset. At that point, generally, I have seen that Raptor's line moves from, you know, a 50-minute or 60-minute line down to a 20 or 30-minute line, because a lot of times people are headed back at that point to the back of the park where they want to ride the rides they've neglected throughout the day, because they've been stuck riding big lines at the front of the park. Raptor is decent at 60 to 70 minutes. Again, the busy day numbers are never the ideal numbers. I never want to ride those, even on a busy day. I'm looking for do-it numbers. I'm looking for 30 to 55 minutes, or I'm looking for even 0 to 25 minutes, and that is what I often find at the end of the day on Raptor. Rougarou is the weirdest ride on this list because I have never seen the app be good for Rougarou. The app legitimately and royally sucks for Rougarou every single time. I've seen the app say 75 minutes and it's been a 5-minute line for me. And I've also seen the app say 15 minutes and it's been a 45-minute line for me. I never really know what it's going to be, which is why every time I see Rougarou, I just walk into the line real fast. Or you can also walk right across from where Millennium has its entrance. If you peek between the 2 game stalls, you can see into the line for Rougarou. So definitely, like, taking that moment to go check that out, I think is definitely worthwhile, because sometimes you'll look at it and be like, ooh, beeline backwards, that's an empty line. Or you might look at it and go, oh my word, no, that's not a 15-minute wait, that's an hour wait. That queue is completely full of people. So definitely going in and looking at that line is definitely worthwhile, because I have seen it be so inconsistent. Throughout the day, I can find good times for it. I've found good times multiple times during the day, but particularly during the morning-ish, meaning like really probably noontime, like 10 to 2 o'clock. Or if I'm going to ride it at the end of the day, that has some really low weights then also. Generally, Rougarou is the ride that I ride right before I ride Millennium Force, if the train has come and intercepted my trying to go to Millennium Force, because I do not like to wait for anything at any point. So if I'm waiting for a train to very slowly creep across, I'm not going to wait for it. Instead, I'm going to go ride Rougarou and get a little bit more value out of that time that I would be waiting. For a busy day, it's okay to wait 40 to 50 minutes if you must, if there's nothing else that you can ride at that time that has a lower weight. However, do it would be 20 minutes to 35 minutes, and steal would be 0 minutes to 15 minutes. All right, I am now 2 drinks down because my camera got very hot. And I also found Jarvis Johnson's video about retirement house, and I am now like absolutely on goals. This is what I want to do with my life. Someday I will join retirement house on TikTok. This is my goal in life. Like, I have no other thing that I want. Anyway, let's keep going. Scrambler is 4 rotations at max. I have had to wait several rotations for Scrambler. Now, to be completely fair, Scrambler is a ride that I absolutely love, especially because of my daughter. It holds a lot of significance. Oh, I'm still down. It holds a lot of significance to me because it's been one of her favorites since she was a kid. So because of that, I'm more willing to do more. And again, that's going to also happen to you guys too. So please leave your comments down below on which ones of these you would wait longer for or less time for. But 4 rotations for Scrambler is great. 2 to 3 rotations is a do it for me. And 0 to 1 rotations is steal. Busy day, 4 rotations. Absolutely, that's the max. Prioritize Scrambler over Matterhorn, especially if they both have similar wait times. The Scrambler has a lot fewer amounts of people in it, so if you foresee that the line is going to get longer rather than shorter, let's say maybe everything's closed down because of a storm, then go for the one that loads fewer people first rather than last. Skyride is confusing because I'm not entirely sure how to quantify it. I don't know that you're ever really gonna wait more than like 10 minutes for the Skyride. Even when the line is huge, you don't wait usually more than 10 minutes. About the worst thing that could possibly happen is if it breaks down. Because I have seen people stuck up on the Skyride, and that of course is miserable. But I don't really know what a steal or a do it or a busy day is. If the line looks reasonable to you, go check it out. I would say if it's outside of the station, outside of its actual queue, then don't do it. But other than that, go for it. Even the view on Skyride is really nice, and there are surprisingly few of those Skyrides left just in theme parks altogether. I mean, I know Disney's gotten rid of theirs. Cedar Point has even gotten rid of one of theirs. There was one we'll talk about in a future video, but there was one that used to go back to Frontier Town, and it no longer exists. So it is kind of nice to have that that ability to remember the Skyride experience. Skyhawk is one of those rides that I utterly detest. I will not ride it. There is no time amount that is worthwhile for me. Obviously, some people like it. For a busy day, 35 to 45 minutes is probably decent, reasonable, but also a horrible amount. Like, it's a lot to wait. But it's not going to be the most that you could possibly wait for that ride. Skyhawk, I would say a do it would be 15 to 30 minutes in line, and a steal would be 0 to 10 minutes, probably worthwhile. Snake River Expedition would be the next one. 40 to 60 minutes. I would say never wait more than 60 minutes for that ride. If I see even 40 minutes, I turn around and I go find something else to do. Do it would be 20 to 35 minutes. I think that's very reasonable. And steal would be 0 to 15 minutes. I love it that Cedar Point has added a more Disney-esque kind of experience. Even though their animatronics are subpar to to say the least, but at least it's a fun experience. It involves a lot of people. There are people playing multiple different like fun roles. You have like a heist happening on your boat. It's very Jungle Cruise type of a ride, and it's really fun. So I think especially if you have kids, definitely worthwhile. Not so much worthwhile if you are just an adult who is doing this entirely for yourself. You know, for me, I filmed the whole thing, so for me it's more worthwhile. Probably not worthwhile for most people though. Also, I'm a sucker for any kind of like show. So to me, I mean, most things are worthwhile because I find enjoyment out of anything like I'm a toddler. The wine is definitely talking at this point, so have fun with the rest of it. So have fun with the rest of this video. Hopefully future Trent doesn't hate this Trent that's filming right now. Snake River Falls would be 30 to 45 minutes. Now, the big thing for this one is that busy day really means hot day. If you're on an incredibly hot day, then yes, it's going to be miserable. You're going to have to wait in a much longer line. Although the weird thing for that is that the other water ride in the park, you don't have to wait as long for, but we'll wait to talk about that later. The do it would be 15 to 25 minutes. I think that's always reasonable for this ride. And then steal would be 0 to 10 minutes. Now, your best time in the lines is going to be whenever the days are the least hot. Now, the weird thing is I have seen a couple times when the lines are really low and it's incredibly hot. I think people don't come to the water rides at all until after about 2 or maybe 3 o'clock. I think usually they're just trying to hit as many roller coasters as they possibly can, so they don't hit the water rides until the hottest part of the day. And the hottest part of the day usually ends up being like right after lunch, when you're just sweating, you're miserable, you're incredibly hot, so then you get in line for a water ride. I actually think it's better to hit your water rides earlier on in the day, so that then that residual like water on your skin actually cools you down a little bit throughout the rest of the day. Definitely think that's worthwhile. Steel Vengeance is the biggest one out of all of the roller coasters at Cedar Point. I think we all know that. 120 minutes is not unreasonable. It is worthwhile. 85 to 120 minutes I put as a busy day. If it is not the busiest day, or even if it is really busy, look for a 45-minute to 80-minute line for Steel Vengeance. I think I had to wait an hour and a half for Steel Vengeance. It might have even been pushing 2 hours. That one I had to wait a very long time for. But I prioritized every other ride before I did that ride. So I hit all the other rides on short amounts. Generally, I would recommend waiting 45 to 80 minutes, but that's kind of the way that waits work. Often you have to prioritize other rides and then be like, okay, because I've waited so little for the other rides, now I have a few extra minutes to wait for the big one. So having that 120 minutes is worthwhile from time to time for Steel Vengeance. And then Steel Vengeance is 0 to 45 minutes, which is definitely good for that. Now, the Super Himalaya would be the next ride. The best time to ride that ride would be the earlier part of the day, before the lines, especially for the coasters, get really, really huge. So we're talking like 2 o'clock, maybe even 10 o'clock, to come in, ride it really fast, and then move on to your next coaster. Definitely worthwhile. 3 to 4 rotations is reasonable on a busy day. Not ideal though. Do It would be 1 to 2 rotations, and Steel, of course, would be 0 rotations, as it always is. This is going to be just a massive, massive video. The longer I go, the more I realize how long this is going to be. I hope you're bearing with me right now. I'm assuming you're all semi-deep into a glass of wine right now, just like I am, and we could just have some fun together. But let's keep going. Thunder Canyon is a really fun ride, especially when it's really, really hot. I surprisingly found that lines were never big at all last year, which is really surprising because in 2019 things were huge. Like, the lines were always big, we were always waiting, and then 2020 hit and the lines got dramatically smaller, and at this point the lines are very small. Also, wonder if maybe we'll see more longer lines like we saw in 2019. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm waiting for it. For now though, based on the information that I had from last year, a busy day equals 25 to 35 minutes, and Do It equals 15 to 20 minutes. Steel would be 0 minutes to 10 minutes. Tiki Twirl is a really fun ride. It is a really nice, different kind of a take on a Scrambler ride. You shouldn't have to wait a massive amount for this ride. If you do, then I would definitely just go move on and find another time. 2 rotations, I think, is definitely almost even overkill for this ride for Tiki Twirl. Do It would be 1 rotation. If you have to wait 1 rotation, worthwhile. But a Steel would be if you can find a time when you can hop on right before or right as another ride is emptying, and you can get right onto the ride. That actually is the exact same thing for Troika, which I rode this last year. I spent years thinking it was fun because I do like Scrambler type of rides. Do not ride this ride. It's one of my least favorite rides riding it. When I rode it, it was one of those like grit your teeth and bear it kind of moments. It was terrible for me. But I would say for a busy day, 2 rotations is your maximum. Do It would be 1 rotation. And for 0 rotations, it would be Steel, of course. Valravn is one of the big rides. It is one that's in the top 4, but Valravn has kind of taken the place of Top Thrill Dragster. And Top Thrill Dragster, of course, rest in peace. I will very much miss Top Thrill Dragster. I wish that it was back this next year, and I'm really hoping that it's going to be back in 2023. But for this year, Valravn is a great ride. It is truly one of my favorites. It is so much fun to ride. It's so simple, and yet so amazingly smooth. You feel just like a bird soaring. It is something that I think is absolutely worthwhile to do. However, lines are long in the morning. Again, it has the Raptor effect. You walk in and immediately you see the big red thing. You don't see the entrance right away, so it gives a little bit of time for people getting back to the entrance of Valravn, but it's not far from the entrance of Raptor. So it's definitely one of those that gets a huge line at the beginning of the day, and it continues to get a huge line throughout the rest. I think it was made in 2016. I think that's right. So it does have a very long line. It's one of those that's worthwhile to get to at the beginning of the day for Cedar Point. I have had a couple of good experiences of short lines at Valravn at the end of the night during the parade in particular, because I think it's close enough to the parade route that draws people away from Valravn. So if you are coming for multiple days, you could avoid the parade for one day, or maybe see the parade early and then run straight to Valravn and ride Valravn while people are watching the parade as it goes by. That is maybe one that's worthwhile, but it does get long lines at the very beginning of the day, and it continues to keep those long lines, unlike Raptor. Raptor does kind of lose its long lines throughout the day. I do think 65 to 90 minutes is worthwhile. Do not wait for any ride other than Steel Vengeance for more than 2 hours. But an hour and a half I think is worthwhile, especially if there are no other rides that you can ride at that moment that are better weights. However, Do It would be 35 to 60 minutes, and Steel would be 0 minutes to 30 minutes. For Valravn. Again, that's a big wait time for Steel. 0 to 30 minutes I think is definitely worthwhile. The next ride is Wave Swinger. Wave Swinger is one of those that I say, do not ride this. It's a terrible ride. It's awful. It makes me mad. And I refuse to ride it. However, somebody likes to ride it, I'm sure, in this audience. So Busy Day would be 2 rotations, Do It would be 1 rotation, and Steel would be 0 rotations. Wilderness Run is a kid's ride. My daughter absolutely loves it, or used to love it before she was able to ride a few bigger rides. Also, it is one of those that I think is worthwhile, but it is a long wait. Also, it has some crazy tight buckles that you have to have. So if you're not smaller than I am, you're not going to be able to ride it. It's very tight, and 45 minutes to 55 minutes I think is worthwhile. 30 minutes to 40 minutes is okay. That's one where you should do it. And a Steel would be 0 to 25 minutes. Windseeker, once again, is one that do not ride it. It's an awful ride. Don't do it. It is fairly fast loading though, but it is very slow running. I would say 40 to 45 minutes is reasonable for it on a very busy day. 20 to 35 minutes I think is the thing that you're shooting for normally, but 0 to 15 minutes is worthwhile otherwise. And then Woodstock Express is another kids ride, and it's incredibly slow loading. Once again, you have the seat belts very tight. They also check every kid's seat belt. Every time that it makes a loop around, they check each seat belt one more time. So that definitely gives it a much longer wait. You're gonna end up waiting frequently, about 30 minutes for it. On a busy day, 40 to 50 minutes I think is worthwhile. For a Do It, 25 to 35 minutes I think is much better. And then for a Steel, you're looking at 0 to 20 minutes, which is, I think, a pretty high amount, especially for a kids ride for a Steel. Because for our kids rides, we do have 2 special rides, Wilderness Run and Woodstock Express, that are definitely different than most of the kids rides. What do you guys think about all of these different times I've given you? Are they higher than you expect? Are they lower than you expect? What do you think? What would you like to see changed? Please leave those down in the comments. Like I said, that's very helpful, not just to me, but to everyone else who hangs out on this page and is able to see kind of some ideas about Cedar Point. My idea is to give you the most accurate information I possibly can. And if you've made it to the end of this video, then you definitely need to press that like button at this point, because you made it a long time. Please press that like button, and thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you guys have enjoyed something that you heard today, and that you learned, once again, something also. So, let's go!